Allison Rosen. Allison Rosen is your new best friend. Allison, with her the good times never end. Allison Rosen, doing the wavy pencil dance again. Allison Rosen, Allison's your new best friend.
Hey everyone. Hi, hello. Welcome to another exciting episode of Allison Rosen is your new best friend. I'm sitting here in the studio with an old friend who hasn't been on in quite some time, so we have a lot to catch up on. We're going to catch up with him on the stuff we have to catch up on. Please put your hands together for comic, actor, writer, podcast host, Dana Gould.
Hi.
Hello.
How are you?
I am good. How are you doing?
Actor, quote unquote.
I mean, you've done some acting.
I've done some acting. That's how I say it. Are you an actor? No, I've done some acting.
Okay.
I never know what I'm doing.
Right. When you're
never
acting?
know. Yeah.
I thought of you very recently, actually, because, and listen, there's so much about you we need to get into and catch up on. So I don't mean to like put my shit at the top.
Please.
However, here's my shit. I have a meeting with an agent on Monday via Zoom, which is both a relief and also I'm like, that doesn't sound like a good sign.
I'm with you 100%.
Yeah. So my old agent, and this is the most Hollywood thing ever. I found out in November that he had stopped representing people in July.
Yeah.
So I was like, am I still at the agency? Let me know what to tell people. You know, should I still have this email on my website? What's happening? At the same time, I'm someone who like my whole career is pretty much done via podcasting and myself. You know what I mean? Like it's great to have. I appreciate what he did for me, but I don't. I obviously wasn't talking to him every day, or else I would have known.
Yeah, he retired several months ago.
Yes. So anyway, he was like, I talked to so and so and so and so who are like my favorite people at the company, and they would love to meet you to talk about potential representation. So that's what this meeting is. So I have thought to myself, I want to. Now, in the autumn of my life, I want to go into this meeting not making the mistakes that I made at all the other meetings that I had when I was much younger. So I want to go in with like, here are the goals. Here are some things I want, as opposed to like, here I am. I'm up for I would like to do everything. I want to have more goals. And do I want to do acting? I used to go on auditions. I never booked anything. I would say I wasn't great, although I feel like I could.
Auditioning and acting are completely divergent disciplines.
But I was thinking like, so I was just debating how do I want to handle that piece of it. But then I was remembering you told me that you took a class by Leslie Kahn, right?
Yeah, Leslie Kahn taught me. She taught me how to act. Despite
and yet you
years
disparage
of training.
it. You disparage your acting.
I not disparage her. I got a real acting job. I got on a show that Frank Darabont, who directed Shawshank Redemption and Walking Dead,
big name,
called Mob City, and it was set in the 40s in L.A. and it was the LAPD and the mob in L.A. at that time. And it was like a real show. And I called my friend Todd Stashwick, who's a comedic actor who works just all the time. And I said, but he came out of the Second City. He was a comedy guy. So I go, how did you do it? And he just went, Leslie Kahn. Got it. So I called Leslie Kahn. I went in. I said, like, I have the job. I booked the job. I don't know what I'm doing. And she laughed. And said, all right, let's read a scene. And so we started the scene. I got like 2 lines and she goes, I'm going to stop you right there.
Oh God.
No, it was great. She goes, I'll never forget this. She goes, you're going to be really easy to fix.
Oh, that's
because you're doing everything perfectly wrong.
That's hilarious.
And she was right.
Oh my God. What were the things that you were doing wrong?
I was working from the outside in instead of the inside out. That's the easiest way to say it.
Like you weren't emotionally connecting with what
I
you were
wasn't.
doing.
Yeah, I was thinking
about how it should look.
Yeah, how I should say it and coming out from the outside in. She was like,
Yes.
no. And there was a great quote that someone said that also helped me. The motion picture camera is a machine that, you know who told me this? John McGinley. The motion picture
McGinley.
from Scrubs.
Yeah, I know who that is.
The
And
star
Stand
of
Against Evil.
Stand Against Evil.
Yeah, your show.
My show. The motion picture camera is a machine that photographs you thinking.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah, and that's true.
So you got to do the thinking.
Yeah, and I will never forget, I had a scene in Mob City where I had to be pretty emotional because I had almost died. My character, not me. And I was acting with Jeff DeMunn, who you don't know his name, but you know his face. You go, oh, yeah, I've seen, he's just one of those guys. That his resume is the size of a highway. And I did the scene with him. And after the scene, he went, well, what do you know? The kid's got it. And I was like, if it was not for Leslie Kahn, I would not have
That's awesome.
done that. Yeah. So
and
I was like.
Yet the audition. Did you audition for the role?
Hats off to Jeff. Yes.
So they loved your outside-in approach.
Yeah, but that's auditioning. That's a different thing. I also think it was just I had a look. I had they needed a nerdy kind of Charles Martin Smith looking dude for this particular character.
Who's Charles Martin Smith?
He would remember The Untouchables with Kevin Costner?
Yes.
He was the nerdy guy with the glasses that got shot in the elevator. I was that character on Mob City.
So Leslie Kahn is a controversial figure. At least she was some years ago.
Oh, I don't know this.
Because she supposedly, like, she'll look at someone and be like, your forehead's all wrong, or like this, or like the reason you're not booking jobs is because of this. Did she do that? Well, she said everything you're doing is wrong.
Yeah.
But did she make you feel, I don't know, did she create insecurities in you?
She did not create insecurities in me. I will say I'm Irish Catholic by definition, but I'm about as Catholic as this table. But I've never had a Jewish mother until I worked with Leslie Kahn. And now I know. Now I get it.
Okay. Yeah, I guess she can be like abrasive or very direct.
She's abrasive, but she will kill somebody if they try to hurt you. You can tell.
Oh,
she's very protective and I think also because I came to her with a gig already. Like I wasn't somebody help me make my dream come true.
Right.
No, my dream came true and I'm screwed. So I think that the pressure was off.
Right. Right.
But no, she was. At the time, I remember at the time I was dating somebody. I had yet to remarry. I had yet to meet my wife, but I was already divorced. And, for my first wife. And there was an actress in the place that I was just talking to and like waiting to go in to talk to her. And then I went in to work with Leslie, and I go, she seems nice. And she goes, you don't want any part of that.
Oh, my God. Now I want to meet this lady.
That's really funny.
That sounds so funny.
You don't want any part of that. You got it. Enough said. No, she was really good. And she did help me quite a bit.
Good.
Yeah.
So when you were last on, it was 2015. I didn't realize it was a full decade ago.
Criminy.
I know.
You said if I was good, you'd have me back right away.
I mean, so much has
I
changed.
get it.
So much happens. I'm in an entirely different house now.
Yes, you are.
So how could I possibly?
I love it out here, though. I was here this morning.
You were for what?
I was teaching my youngest daughter how to parallel park, and so I was looking for a long stretch of road, but with traffic, and so we went to Olive, and I said, "All right, let's do some parallel parking."
I had to parallel park in a very tight spot yesterday.
Yeah.
And it was stressful for me. It was one where as soon as I was into it, I got out and I checked my work and I was like, wow, if I had realized how tight this was going to be, I think I did it without hitting cars.
Sure.
Which is the main thing.
Yeah.
But I was like, getting out of this spot is going to be dicey. If I had realized what a tight squeeze this was, I probably wouldn't have done it. Are there, because I am now old enough that I forget what the rules are, but I sort of remember you back up to like the passenger side window is
I don't know.
How did you teach her how to do it?
I just told her to go. I learned how to do it in Boston. So like I can do it while being shot at. I just said, take your butt up to the nose of the car and then back in. It's so much easier now because you have the screen.
Right.
With the, like, I'm like, we didn't have this. I was like raw dogging it out on Commonwealth Avenue. But she did really well. She doesn't take not even criticism, just like correcting. Like the one thing she has a problem with. And by the way, in terms of like me teaching my daughter to drive, in terms of my dad teaching me to drive, I am 100% better than my father. My father would be good
fantastic.
for about 11 seconds. And then that was the end of the lesson. But if you're it's like you're coming up on 5 rows of cars and the guy 5 rows down puts on his brakes. All these other cars are going to put on their brakes.
Right.
She'll keep going at the rate of speed until the car in front of her slows down, and then she'll slow down. And I go, no, you have to anticipate what's going to happen.
Right.
90% of driving and 90% of life, I find, is watching out for the a-holes.
Yes.
You know,
it's so true.
Somebody else is going to do something wrong, and then you have to be an a-hole. And, you know, we were talking about this before. People like trying to park, people beeping. It's like, no, we've stopped. We have our blinker on. We're backing in. And then somebody was like, come by. And, you know, we were on a side street and somebody, you can't park there. No, I know. We're just practicing parallel parking. Well, that's out of space. It's like, no, we've had our conversation.
Yes. We're done.
Yeah. You don't have to cork the bottle.
Right.
I got the last word. You know. Reptiles are cold-blooded. Whatever you need to say to feel like, whatever you need to feel like you've won talking, do it quick and get on. And then I had that conversation with my daughter. Most people are idiots, especially when they're driving. It's like you're in a train. Did you ever see Pacific Rim?
Mm-mm.
It's a Guillermo del Toro film about people fight giant monsters inside giant robots. It's based on the Ibsen play.
Oh yes.
You know, it's like
robot.
they have these giant monsters that are 40 stories tall. So humanity has developed these giant robots, but they're operated by people inside them.
Okay, got it.
Everybody in their car is like that. Suddenly I'm impenetrable.
Yes.
Nobody can touch me. Nobody can hurt me.
Right.
And my real self can come out. And that's unfortunate because most people's real selves are very aggressive and whiny.
I get very rattled by assholes being annoyed with me when I'm driving. Like that, I've identified that as something I need to work on. In fact, not to belabor the point because listeners have heard me talk about it before because it just happened. I am not someone who gets in a lot of fender benders. However, I just backed into a parked car the other day. I was backing out of a very narrow driveway. I was very nervous about that. Got out into the street. So now I'm backing into I'm backing into this lane and I'm going to go this way. And there's a car coming this way and they're coming pretty quickly.
Yep.
So instead of being like, I am here, I'm going to back up and I'm going to go. I was like, okay, they're not slowing down. I'm just going to keep going into the oncoming lane and I'll just sit there until but instead I kept going into the oncoming lane into a car. But if I hadn't gotten rattled by that car coming and not slowing down, that wouldn't have happened.
Yeah,
it was just stupid.
I understand. Have you ever been in a bad car accident?
No,
Yeah.
I know that you have.
I have, yeah.
Yes, because I had Bobcat Goldthwait on when you guys were promoting your. Remind me the name of the special.
Joyride.
Joyride.
Ironically.
Yeah. Remind me what happened.
We were being driven to the venue to film the concert for this documentary. And we were only going a couple of blocks, so we didn't wear our seatbelts. We're both in the back seat.
The car wasn't like beeping at you the whole time?
No, it was her. No, it was our. It was his assistant was driving us in the rental car that we had.
Okay.
I was going to get into the passenger seat, but her dog was sitting in the passenger seat. So I said, I'll just get in the back. She was going to move the dog, and I went, I'll just get in the back. Had I sat in that seat.
You would have been dead.
Or in a wheelchair. For
Is
sure.
the dog okay?
Dog, yeah. It was dog the size of a ham, and it just got thrown out on the floor.
Oh.
But the whole thing was caved in.
Yeah.
We unfortunately were dumb enough to not put on our seatbelts because we were in the back seat going 2 blocks, turning into the parking lot of this venue. A car T-boned us, going about 50. And we broke our ribs on each other.
Oh my God.
Yeah. As Bob said, it was like a superhero origin story of a 4-quadrant super comic that was in Police Academy and wrote on The Simpsons. Yeah, so it's weird. And then you're in the ambulance. The first thing I thought, it's weird.
Did you lose consciousness at all, or were you?
I did not lose consciousness, but I couldn't breathe.
Ugh.
And I was looking at the roof of the car, and I couldn't breathe. And I did think quite like, I'm going to die looking at the roof of a car. That was my thought. Not my children.
Right.
What will happen in 5 generations?
Yeah, my legacy.
It was the immediate, I'm going to die looking at the roof of a car. And then my lungs were expanded.
Yeah.
And,
did you have, when you thought I'm going to die looking at the roof of a car, was it with regret? Like, what was the emotion?
Pure logic.
Just
Pure logic.
observation.
Yeah, just observation, yeah. And then I started breathing again. And Bob had a concussion. Bob had it worse than I did. But you are in the, we're in the ambulance and we're just thinking, well, this has happened.
Yeah.
It's like there's nothing else you can do.
Right.
And they brought us to Grady Hospital in Atlanta, Atlanta's stabbiest hospital. We ended up
alive.
There's a whole bit about our time at Grady Hospital.
How long were you guys at the hospital?
Just the day. I mean, we didn't spend the night,
Right.
but it was really funny. It was literally me and Bob and this giant guy that looked like Carl Weathers from Rocky, just this giant wall of a man. And it's just the three of us in the trauma ward. And Bob goes to this guy, so what happened to you? He goes, my girlfriend tried to stab me, so I stopped it with my hand. He had his hand in a towel.
Oh, my God.
And Bob went, so she stabbed you. And he looked at it. It was like one of those things like, I'm going to kill you. And then he processed, no, that's funny. I admire that you said that. Then he laughed, and then he became our protector.
Oh, my God. This is just like...
But it was, you could see the
so
wheels turning like, do I
Yeah.
kill you
Right.
or befriend you? I'll befriend you.
That's hilarious. What happened to the driver of the car?
She was fine. She was fine.
So the person who T-boned you guys
we all ended up in the hospital.
Right, but you guys, the person that T-boned you was in the parking lot?
No, he was coming we had to cross the lane.
Oh.
It was technically our fault because we were in the lane, in his lane. He was going too fast.
Right.
So in a way they were both, but technically we were at fault.
That bothers me.
It is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, It wasn't you guys. You were in the back seat without
Right.
your seatbelt on, but.
And then, so we flew home 2 days later, I think.
That must have been a physically uncomfortable plane
But having
ride.
a broken rib is the worst. Like you spend 6 weeks walking around your house in
You can't laugh.
desperate fear of farting. Please don't let me fart. Please don't let me fart. Yeah, and I coughed once, like involuntarily, and I was like, wow, that's overwhelming pain. It turned out fine. Very fortunate. But now when I'm driving with my daughter on the 101, I'm like, well, I know what this will be like if we get in an accident. I know how it will feel.
Well, that's
But
good.
she'll be good. She's good. She'll be fine.
Yeah. Okay, so when you last came on a decade ago, when your ribs were pristine.
Yeah. Unfettered.
That's right. When you didn't have an intimate knowledge of what it would be like if you got into an accident with your best friend. A bad one.
Yeah.
That wasn't me correcting your language. It sounded, because you said bad and then I said bad one. And I just want you to know,
No,
I'm not correcting you.
I understand.
I'm just agreeing with you.
We've been through too much for me to ever go there.
Question. Thank you, girlfriend. You were depressed.
Sure.
Because you were technically still married, like you said, but divorced.
Oh, in 2015?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess the divorce was still not final.
But you had just recently broken up with the person you dated after your wife.
Yes.
And so it was like all hitting you.
Yeah, that was a very terrible period. Was that when we met? Yeah, that was a terrible period. Because
you had been on in 2012, I think, you were like my fifth guest.
Right.
So we met before that, but that's when we last did the podcast.
That I remember, because what happened was met this person right away, and I sort of delayed, was able to delay my feelings, and then it hit me. It sort of hit me all at once.
Right.
And there's also a way that I find this very interesting, and it might just be me, and it might be my flaw, but sometimes it's easier to focus your feelings on things that aren't that intimate. I'll give you a weird example, and I'll show you how I've done it too. James Ellroy, the author, when he was a young child, his mother was murdered, and he never really dealt with it as a child, but then in his young adulthood became obsessed with the Black Dahlia, who was a woman that he didn't know that was also murdered. And he was able to move his feelings towards his mother into this other person because it was safer.
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah. I find I have been doing that with my mom died in April, almost a year ago, just about a year ago. And my mom had dementia for a long time. I was very, very prepared for my mother's passing, emotionally. Like, she didn't know who I was.
That's hard.
It was hard. It was hard. She didn't look like herself anymore. So,
what did she look like?
Just very skinny, and I could show you a photo and I won't.
Okay.
So when she died, I was like, yeah, okay. Yeah, I get it. Yeah. And I just kind of rolled with it. I did not know David Lynch, but I practiced TM. We had the same instructor. I'd been to several events at his foundation. I've heard him speak. I've met him, but I didn't know him. Was a friend of mine. But his death, I can't get over it. I think about it every day, and there's a lot of reasons for that. I think it was what he meant, what he symbolized, the timing, just like right when the good guys lost, and it's like, well,
peace out.
This guy got reelected. The city's on fire. Things can't get worse. Wait a minute. I have another one.
Yeah.
And it was just like, yeah, of course. And I've really been, I've carried that with me more, I think.
Than your mom's did.
Yeah. I also think because I didn't know him. It wasn't intimate. It's just, it's from a distance.
Right.
But he said something, this goes back to what we were talking about before. He said something once I saw him speak at the David Lynch Foundation, which teaches TM to people. Which I highly recommend to everyone. And he said, one little thing you can do is let people into traffic. I let people into traffic all the time. And I started doing it the next day.
Oh.
And it changes the tone of everything. Because most people smile and wave. And that's positive. They're expecting you to be an a-hole.
To pretend you don't see them.
Yeah. And some people don't. They just take it. But it's just like, yeah, I did. It was like you do it's like you do two or three, pick up some garbage, put in do 2 or 3 tiny good things a day. And it just, if you're in LA or in your car a lot, I let people in. I'm always waving people in and they smile and laugh and you go, hey, not everybody's a jerk.
Right. Oh, yeah. That's nice.
Yeah. That's not how he said it. He said it like this. You have to let people in.
Not to one-up you.
Please.
But my mom died in December.
You're talking about odd. Your mother murdered my mother. That is the real one-up.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. And then she only had 6 good months of enjoying the world after she'd killed your mom. And then she died.
And then
her life's work.
She checked out.
Yeah. So my mom died in December.
How old and how?
She was 75.
Oh, it's young.
It's young. Okay, I'll give you the full story. My parents were 16.
My mom was 90. My dad's 94. He's in Florida right now visiting my brother and probably drunk as we speak. Still drinking, still driving.
My grandfather, I think he lived to like 90 or 92, and I think
Yeah.
he was like smoking and drinking the whole time.
My dad's sister is 97, and she's like this super like, I just came in for my walk.
It's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird how my dad got so old at the end, but then you see some old people who are like not old at all.
Yeah,
not
yeah.
old seeming at all. They still have all their faculties about them.
A lot of, yeah. I know David smoked like 4 to 5 packs of American spirits a day,
Jesus
which is
Christ.
he had emphysema.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, had he not smoked, he had another 20, 30 years.
How old?
Can't
is he?
smoke. He was 78, just about to turn 79. But
You think he had another 30 years?
I like to think so.
Yeah,
I hope so.
I know. So anyway, my dad was 89, and he died in July 2023.
Okay.
So a year and a half ago.
So
And
you're an
then-
orphan.
I am an orphan now.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a wisdom that I have that you don't.
That's
So,
true.
just you wait. By the way, not the direction I'm going with this, but the difference between losing the first and the second is like exponential, just in
Is it?
terms of, not in terms of the emotions, but in terms of the shit you like. What the meaning of death when my dad died was just, oh, I'm grieving this loss and I miss him. And the meaning of death when my mom has died is like, we have to sell a house, we have to settle the
Yeah.
estate. It's just it's so much paperwork.
Yeah.
It's like a full-time job.
No, I'm going to say, I'll say this on this podcast because nobody in my family will hear it.
Thanks.
No, it has no,
I'm just kidding.
They're not aware of the concept
Yeah,
of podcasts. They don't.
Right.
Unless you're simulcast on Fox News, we're safe.
Not yet.
I'm the 5th of 6.
Mm-hmm.
They all live within 5 minutes of each other. I live
Right.
as far away from them as I can be while remaining dry. And they didn't do a goddamn thing. I had to do everything.
Oh, we are in such the same boat.
My oldest brother literally, I said, is there going to be a funeral? He goes, yeah, I was going to call a funeral, but I don't think they have enough chairs. And I think they just do it because they know I will do it, so they don't have to try and they don't have to pay money. But I tell this story on stage, so I'm not trying out material in a conversation,
Right.
but it's a true thing. I say to my brother, so what's the plan here? We'll wait for Dad to die. And then we can bury them both at the Veterans Cemetery for free. The Veterans Cemetery is 2 hours from the house.
Mm-hmm.
Where is the house? Cemetery Street. I grew up at 9 Cemetery Street, Hopedale, Massachusetts. It's a street. You take a corner,
Mm-hmm.
and there's the gates to the town cemetery. When I would ride a bike, you could literally get on a bike without pedaling.
Mm.
If there was no cars, go down the hill, take the corner, and coast into the cemetery.
Yeah.
Never entered anybody's mind to call the corner
The neighbors.
and ask for the price of a hole in the dirt.
Yeah.
It was just, and as I've told my children, because you can't leave your family without a plan.
Oh, mine did, but
Yeah.
now I know, and I know not to.
Yeah, and my, I don't want to say his name on the air, but my very best friend who we spoke of earlier, that happened with him. And it was a year and a half of his life in doing that Gordian knot.
Yeah.
I've told my children when I pass, I want my remains scattered along Mulholland Drive, the lookout.
Right.
But I don't want to be cremated.
Right.
I want to be a source of excitement.
Right. Get some press for it.
Yeah.
That's
Just
exciting.
random chunks.
Yeah. So my mom was much younger, so we assumed she'd live a lot longer. She
Right.
had cancer.
Oh, that happens though. One goes.
Yes, that's what everyone says. Yeah. So she had cancer, but she'd had it since 2010, and
Wow.
she really, it was primary peritoneal cancer, which is, it behaves like ovarian cancer. So she really beat the odds because the chances of her like still being alive 10 years after were so small.
Yeah.
But she was really lucky, and she would get these recurrences, and then she would do chemo or she would do radiation, and then she would be fine. And she had just gone through chemo again, and she had a scan, and everything looked good, and she was like looking forward to the holidays. And then, but she was immunocompromised.
Right.
And then she got the flu, and she was around, without going into too much detail, she was around sick people, and I was in my house going, what the fuck is she doing? This seems like a bad idea. And
would you say this is the most erotic episode you've done?
it's certainly sensual. It's certainly up there. Yes.
This is
steamy. It's steamy. Look, there's someone out there who is feeling steamed by
I'm
this,
sure.
and I'm concerned.
More than one.
Right. So, Saturday morning, she is like delirious.
Right.
Gets taken to, I get a FaceTime call. Like, what should I do? Something's going on with mom. And I'm like, yeah, call 911. Goes to the hospital, has 104 fever, which from the medical records I saw was actually 104.6. So they start like doing all the things,
right.
Trying to figure out what's going on. Test positive.
That's okay with a baby.
I guess, although you worry about febrile seizures.
Yeah, but they always go like, babies run hot.
Yes.
And it's always the same. What do we do? Put it in cold water.
Right. 75-year-olds shouldn't run that hot,
yeah,
though.
no, right.
So they test positive for influenza A. They test her for everything else, and it doesn't have the other stuff. Anyway, that was Saturday morning.
According to RFK Jr., if you have influenza A, you should eat a peach, and then you're fine.
See, I wish the ICU had thought outside the box. Yeah. They tried everything.
Snickers.
They didn't try
fun
stone
size
fruit.
Snickers.
Yeah. And at that point, they're like, we have to ask if it gets to the point where we have to make the decision. Are you like, what about life-saving measures? And we're like, but we're not there yet, right? They're like, we're not there yet, but so that night. They don't think she's going to die overnight, but she's septic at this point. Like she has sepsis. That's what she died of, septic shock.
Yeah.
So then the next morning, long story short, by afternoon of the next day, Sunday, they recommended intubation. They weren't sure she was going to survive the intubation.
She's unconscious at this point.
Was she
in
conscious?
and out?
She's in and she was actually she was agitated Sunday morning, and they had her in these like soft restraints because she was pulling at her tubes.
Oh gosh!
But she was calmer throughout the day, which I thought was good.
Right.
But they're like, the nurse pulled me aside, and she's like, "Okay, so things, the picture's changed a bit. She's calmer." But we haven't given anything to her to make her more calm. So that's actually not a good sign. I was like, oh. So she was like, her skin was she was like cyanotic, like not getting enough oxygen.
Yeah.
So they intubated. We're not sure she's going to survive intubation. It's like, but if they don't do it, she's definitely not going to survive. She survives intubation. They start dialysis as well because her lactic acid level from the sepsis is so high. She's having multi-system organ failure.
Yeah, she's just...
It's just, by
the medical term is that's all, folks.
The fat lady was singing her heart out. Monday morning, we're talking to the chaplain at the hospital, so obviously we know things are not turning around, but they say that she's brain dead at that point.
Right.
And then she was, dead a few hours later.
The minute she was declared brain dead, she was nominated to a post in the Trump administration.
Yes, we had never been more proud.
She was then immediately nominated to be director of national intelligence.
So it was not how I wanted to spend those few days. It's not how I want to be spending these many months. But the point of all this is to go with what you're saying about like sublimating your feelings.
Yeah.
Or sometimes it's easier to deal with other things. There's a diamond ring and 2 watches that are missing. And I am obsessed with where they went. Right. And I'm obsessed with it in exclusion of grieving her, kind of.
Sure.
This mystery. And did someone take them? And if someone took them, who was it? And and they're just poof, they're just gone.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's because it's so much easier to grieve these things that represent her than the loss of her.
Yeah, that, and I also think it's the reason conspiracy theories work, because they divert grief.
Yes. Oh, that's so true. It's like something that explains it. And then also like
it assigns it a meaning.
Right.
Or and a diversion that might not be there. I mean, because the truth that life is cruel, short, random, and brutal is no fun.
It's not fun, right? And that you're powerless. The
over
powerlessness
many things.
of it.
Yes, over many things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway,
and this is a terribly depressing.
Is it about to get sexy?
No, yeah. So it's just like everybody at the bottom of the ninth isn't good for anybody, and it doesn't matter how powerful or grand your life was and what you accomplished or how much money. Those last 6 hours aren't great.
Well, my dad died. He was taking a nap, and then my mom went to check on him, and he was not napping anymore. He was dead.
Well, not dissimilar to my mother.
And I remember mentioning it. I had a doctor's appointment.
That's like winning a lottery, apparently.
So I had a doctor's appointment. I was telling him, and he's like, "Oh, that's the way you want to go."
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, I didn't like it that much, I don't know. But now I see how much that is ideal, because the alternative was pretty miserable.
My father, my mother, Jesus. My father, my brother, and my sister were going to visit my mother. She had been declining and then had rallied.
Ooh, that happens sometimes right before death, according to TikTok.
Yeah, no, it does. I don't know what it is. They all go into her room. My father goes in and goes, "Hi, hon." Gives her a kiss. Goes in the bathroom. My brother looks in. She's dead. Gets the nurse. "Ma'am, this woman's dead." The nurse pokes her head and she goes, "Yep."
But this was not at the hospital? This
is in the nursing home.
Okay.
My dad comes out of the bathroom, and my brother goes, "Dad, Ma's gone." And he goes, "Okay, let's get out of here." And
wow.
Well, it was just that all systems down.
Yeah.
Shields up.
Right.
Shields up.
Mm-hmm.
And the doctor's like, "Well, we need to sign that. Do you want to wait for the..."
Right. Just a your dad-shaped hole in the wall.
100%. Yeah. And that was the beginning of like, anybody want to handle this? No.
Let's call Dana.
Yeah.
Where were you when you got the news?
My dad called me. I was in his ear. And I wasn't stunned.
Right.
But it's a weird call to get. But it wasn't anything that I thought it would be. I always imagined there'd be like a funeral and nothing.
So there still hasn't been a funeral?
There was a small service at the house that was sort of forced upon people.
Were you there?
I was there, and my sister arranged it, so they managed to find the Trump priest.
A priest who's
the
pro-Trump?
MAGA priest.
Wow. What was he like? Did he have a lot of comforting words?
He was very happy to be around so many people that knew we needed to make America great again.
Oh, my God. So your whole family except you?
Yeah.
Wow. We have not had the funeral yet. We had it planned. Did you hear about that temple that burned down in Pasadena?
Yes.
That was the temple where we were going to have it.
Yeah.
It was, and her body was at a mortuary in Altadena. And this was like sort of random too.
And you weren't even planning on having her cremated.
That was my thing, was like, has she been, she hasn't been cremated,
free?
Or has she been cremated?
You better not send us a bill.
Exactly. No, it didn't burn down, but because I got in touch with like the lady the lady we'd been dealing with there. Like, have the toe tags been attached yet? Like,
all those weird things.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, because what I'm wondering is like, if all the bodies get burned, are they going to be able to tell which ones are her remains? Because, God, I need those specific ashes, because they look so different than all the other ashes.
I have a really funny funeral story. But first, I don't understand people that we didn't. By the way, we should say to the listeners, this was not planned.
No, this is just.
But I don't understand. Do you know Steve Agee?
Yes.
He's so funny. And he said something once, and he just threw it out one night, and I just thought it was like one of the top 5 funniest things I've ever heard in my life. And I said, like, when did you? He goes, oh, did I say that? It was just one of those things.
Oh, right.
He goes, do you realize that underground we are surrounded by skeletons wearing suits? Some of them wearing glasses.
That's hilarious.
No, it's amazing. It's brilliant because it's true.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. I don't understand that whole concept. I want nothing to do with it.
With be buried?
Yeah, it doesn't make a lick of sense.
With I used to prefer the notion of burial to cremation for me because I was like, how can you want to be
Have you ever
burned
looked
up?
down into one of those things when they're putting somebody in there with a
No,
concrete?
I
I'm
haven't.
claustrophobic, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
even dead, I want no part of this.
Right. Well, now, so on my show, on my group show, we went around. It's also a sensual show. So we went around and said whether we want to be buried or cremated. And I was
Sure.
the only one who wanted burial. And my friend Wendy was saying that she thinks of cremation as it's like releasing the soul. I mean,
Yeah.
depending on how much you believe in that stuff, which I don't know how much either of us do, but just the idea
Yeah.
symbolically,
Yeah.
And now I totally see it that way. And now I look forward to cremation.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah. Rent by horses is mine.
Mm.
Yeah, no, it's so anyway, I'll say this, this
funeral
ridiculous story. I was friends with this woman named Mila Nurmi, who was an actress in the 50s. She became famous as Vampira. She was in Plan Man from Outer Space.
Mhm.
She was the very first person to host horror movies, et cetera, et cetera. She's a cult figure and was a very, very, very good friend of mine last 18 years of her life. When she passed in 2008, I was the responsible party, and I said, well, she needs to be buried at Hollywood Forever. That's where she belongs. Has a position of importance to this town, and I'm very, very big and involved in specifically Los Angeles culture and the city. I love living here. I'm proud to live here, and I believe in maintaining our cultural history, and I thought Mila really needed to be in a place of prominence.
Mm.
So we planned this thing, and the word gets out, and all the cult people that like what I like all come. So I get a call from the Church of Satan, as one does.
Mm-hmm.
Lovely man says, "Hey, I own a vintage." I was in the newspaper. Somehow people knew I was the responsible party. I have a vintage hearse, and I would love to transport Mila to her final resting place in this hearse. It would be something I would
doesn't sound
be
very
grateful
satanic at all. That's so nice.
I said, well, this will tell you a lot about the Church of Satan. I said, great. Well, that would be terrific. I'm dealing with the people at Hollywood Forever, and they go, we don't know how we feel about the hearse procession. I go, what? I go, yeah, apparently these people are going to have the Guinness Book of Records longest hearse procession. And we think that that's a little macabre. One, you work for a cemetery and you don't know how to pronounce macabre. Two, I know nothing of this. So I call back the Church of Satan, and they go, what's all this? And the head of the Church of Satan goes, I'm sorry. I should have ran this by you. I apologize.
Oh, my God. Like a little kid.
Totally like a little I'm like, look, I love you. I love this idea.
Yeah.
We don't want to. It's about Mila. It's not about anything. No, you're right. Of course you're right. Of course you're right. This is like,
Oh my God.
I don't know what I was thinking.
Wow.
But the Church of Satan, their whole thing, it's not about Satan. It's about not being held hostage by the restrictions of human created religion. Their whole thing is like, the Catholic Church or the Christianity would say, like, if you like ice cream, why do you enjoy yourself? You're not in heaven yet. You should be suffering. And
Right.
If you like ice cream, eat a box. Have 11 ice creams. Just indulge yourself. Enjoy your life. And I just think it's called the Church of Satan as a troll, which is kind of funny.
Right, right.
But that was my experience with that. But I'd much rather. I could tell you, somebody who's dealt with the Catholic Church and the Church of Satan, give me the Church of Satan every time.
I mean, they sound fun and they sound ambitious.
They sound fun and ambitious. I was fired by the Catholic Church, so.
What were you there?
I was a lector, which is the person that gives the reading at the beginning of a mass. I'm talking about when I was in high school. It's like an adjunct to an altar boy. And I was in a very small town, and I was funny, and I was known to be funny. I mean, I grew up in Mayberry, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knew everybody, and I was funny. So everybody in town knew I was funny. And so I would go up to read, and people would start laughing. And the more serious I would try to be, the more they would laugh.
Mm.
And then Father Riga pulled me aside one day and said, I know you're not doing it on purpose, but it's not working. And
just because you were
they let
funny.
me go. They cut me loose.
Wow.
Yep.
I mean, I can't think of a larger sign from the universe that you're meant to be a comedian
True.
than that.
But I will say I was very good friends with a young priest named Dennis O'Brien, who was a great guy who I spent a lot of time with. If he had a molecule of creepiness in him, he had ample opportunity.
Right, and he didn't.
No, he was a really great guy. And I always like to point that out.
That there's one good one.
Say he was the exception that proves the rule. But I'll give you just a story about Dennis O'Brien. 1980. I'm 16, and I'm with my friends. It's Halloween, and my friends and I are going out. It's that weird twilight area where you're too old to go trick or treating, but you don't have but you're not old enough yet to have a driver's license or go to a cool party.
Right.
So you're just kind of in limbo.
Uh-huh.
So me and my friends were walking around, getting ready to do some very low rent criminal activity.
Like egging?
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
Egging and soaping and
Yeah.
small town New England.
Right.
So we're driving, my van pulls up. What are you guys doing? This is Father O'Brien. I go, nothing. He goes, you're going to get killed. Get in.
Was it that rough?
No, he just thought like we'd be crossing the street at night or something.
Oh,
And,
I see.
So he drove us around and we egged cars.
Oh my God. He sounds great.
He was great.
Have you kept in touch with him?
We did speak a couple of years ago. I think we exchanged an email, but not really. But he was just one of those guys. Just like he was a great guy. You gotta give credit where credit is due.
I've never in my entire life received any kind of instruction or like older brother or sisterly or paternal, any sort of like life lessons from a religious figure. I haven't had a lot of exposure to religious figures, but when I think about it, like I've had teachers in my life who meant a lot to me, and I've certainly had therapists that meant a lot to me, but there's no like, I don't have a Father Dennis O'Brien.
Right.
I don't have, maybe it's time to get one.
Yeah. I think the person that really did that for me was a comedian named Kevin Rooney, who passed a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
He was very ill. But Kevin, there's somebody just found and posted, to my chagrin and my wife's delight, a clip of me on the Dennis Miller Show in 1990, where my voice is 11 octaves higher, and I'm sporting a hairdo. And I was just looking at it, and I was like, yeah, I was on that show because of Kevin Rooney. When I moved to Los Angeles, I met Kevin. I was still living in San Francisco. And he was on the Tonight Show a lot. He was like a big star. And I middled for him at the Improv in Dallas, Texas. And he knew I was funny. He gave me advice that made me a much better comic the next show. And for lack of a better term, took me under his wing and mentored me. And when I moved to LA, I never had to audition at the Improv. Kevin just took me down to the Improv one night and said, Bud, this is my friend Dana. He's really funny. And Bud just said, call in for spots.
Oh,
and that
that's
was all I had
great.
to do. I never had
Wow.
to audition. And he was a really good friend of mine. He was a great guy.
Yeah. I remember when he died, a lot of people were.
Yeah, he was one of those guys
Yeah.
that you didn't know. Like it was sort of like the thing they say about the Velvet Underground. Like only 100 people saw the Velvet Underground play live, but every one of them formed a band and became something.
Yeah,
that was Kevin. Like everybody knew. Like, oh God, Kevin. Like if there was a table, there used to be the thing at the Improv where there was the big round table in the corner, and it would be Bud and Jay Leno and Jerry Seinfeld and Bill Maher and all those guys, and Kevin. And Kevin was the least famous one. And the funniest one at the table by order of magnitude.
Yeah.
So like bullwhip fast, so funny. And yeah, it was just one of those guys.
So when I last saw you, decade ago.
Yeah.
You were in a dark spot. But now
I'm in a great spot, and we've been talking about death for an hour.
I know. How did it turn around? Because you're remarried.
I am remarried.
To a beautiful woman.
Lovely woman.
Who has
Human
a
woman.
podcast. A human woman. Oh my God, congrats!
Human woman.
Yeah, how'd you guys meet?
We met on Twitter.
For
back
real?
when that was a thing. Yeah. She was in town. She wasn't she was a comic, but she was just like hosted shows and but I saw her on Twitter. She knew somebody that linked her that was funny, and I followed her, and I then she invited me to do her show that she was hosting at El Cid, and one of the reasons I followed her, she was funny. She was really pretty, so that's why I followed her.
Okay,
she's really pretty. I'll follow her.
She is really pretty.
She's very pretty. So, yeah, okay.
It might be why I started following her.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I've slowly destroyed that in her, which I think is really good. No,
her beauty.
I'm
You've
leeching it all for myself. So we met and did the show, and we were flirting, but we were both seeing other people.
When was this?
2000 and I guess 18.
Okay.
2018.
So I'm gonna need what happened in the 3 years between when I saw you.
No, it'd be before then. It'd be before then. Maybe 2016.
Okay.
15,
Okay.
2015.
Oh,
2000,
this was right.
It was right
This
around the
was
same
right?
time.
Okay, so this is
But
when you
here's
were
the
in
thing.
your dark period.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I met her. We met, and we would DM occasionally for 4 years
Okay,
because we were both dating other people.
got it.
And never anything untoward or creepy.
Just friendly.
Yeah, I would never assume that somebody, to be very blunt and not like fishing, like I would never assume somebody that pretty would be interested in me. So I would just be like, "Hey, you're in Hawaii. I know that hotel." Stuff like that.
Right.
Just bleh. And then all the time goes better. And then I was dating. I dated somebody who also had kids, and it was somebody that I knew socially from my sort of friend group. And we dated, and then when that ended, and that it wasn't like catastrophic. It was just like, as Woody Allen, you can't quote him anymore, but Annie Hall, dead shark. You know what I mean? I just thought, I'm done. I'm really done. I dated 3 or 4 people after my divorce.
In 2015, you were saying you're done. You're like, I don't want to date anyone. I don't want to eat.
I didn't want to date. Yeah, I didn't want to date anybody. And I was really done. And I was pretty happy with it.
Yeah.
I was like, it's good. And then I met, and then Kat had a podcast and invited me on this podcast that just doesn't do anymore. Ironically called Incompatible. And we we met at the podcast. We went out to dinner after the podcast and have been together ever since.
Oh, and when was that?
That was 2018.
Okay.
Going into 2019.
That's so
early
sweet.
2019.
Now, for her, when did it start?
What do you mean?
Like, when did her feelings for you? Because you described
it
it
was
as
pretty
like
close. It was pretty close.
Okay.
It was pretty close.
So
yeah.
for her, it was just friendly DMs for 4 years.
She liked me, but was like, again, neither one of us are creeps, so we didn't do or say anything.
Right.
But we clearly liked each other, and then she kind of. I think the reason that we ended up dating was because I was not looking to date anybody. I wasn't trying to be cool at all. I was just like,
here I am.
Yeah, I'm just like, in fact, I remember on the podcast, we were talking about like, I'm not dating anybody. I don't want to date anybody. And I remember saying like, and I'm not, in case you want to date me, I have diarrhea. There, now I've ruined it. I remember saying, and then Kat was like, I love diarrhea. Like I never picked up on the signs.
Yeah. That's so funny.
Yeah. She knew pretty quickly, but she also, a lot of people said, he's going to be he's a comedian. He's going to be crazy. It's going to be a nightmare. And I remember she told me this story. And by the way, that's a well-deserved stereotype. And she had one friend who was an open mic comic going like, I wouldn't bother. I think it's going to be, he's a comic. He's going to be crazy. And she said, she goes, well, I've been in his house and it's a lovely, well-appointed home filled with pets and photos of his children. And I've been in your home and there's a futon and a bong. So I'm not sure you should be saying somebody else is a train wreck.
That's so funny. Okay, I'm looking at the time because I know that you have like a hard out because
I've got
children.
I've got a parent
to deal with.
The only thing I'm good at.
You told me that stand-up comedy and being a dad were the only things you were good at.
I still hold to that.
But it's funny because, like, what more is there, though?
Yeah,
those are pretty
much.
big things.
Yeah.
Okay, so given the time, we have
ironically one's all about talking and one's all about listening.
It's so true. We have some segments to do,
Sure.
but we haven't even talked about your special, which is so funny, Perfectly Normal. Tell me about it.
It's on YouTube or the album's on iTunes. It's called Perfectly Normal, and it's
hilarious.
It's
hilarious.
Thank you very kindly. I'm very proud of it, and it's about the stuff that's been going on in my life since my last special.
Well, something that I appreciate about you, and it sounds like I'm going to put down other comics, and I'm not trying to, but there's so many specials where it's like you're really wading through a lot of just talk, and then there's some funny stuff,
right?
But yours is it's just funny.
Well, it's like my podcast. It's dense.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I love to work. I love to write. I love to create. I always have a notebook with me. I love to, and I saw like the first concert I went to that I really like wanted to go to this show. I wasn't like, the first concert I saw was Simon and Garfunkel, and I was just like, I guess I'll go. Yeah. It was there. Yeah, great. But like, I saw Elvis Costello and the Attractions in 1986 at the Beacon Theater in Boston.
Mm-hmm.
And they just came out. I was like, bang, 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 left.
Yeah.
And barely said anything in between.
They didn't play any songs?
I just came out with a drum. No, and I have a tape of that show. I ended up getting a CD of that show, and it's exactly as I remember. It's just like a relentless.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's how you do it.
Mm-hmm.
Come out, start, flurry of get on base every time, and get out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my stand-up comedy idol, George Carlin, his specials are the same way. Come out, hit the ball, and don't stop until you're done.
Yeah, you got to make people laugh.
Yeah.
Or else you're a podcast.
Yeah, and then you see people like just kind of, he did 4 hours. Yeah, I did 20 minutes of material. And,
Right.
Yeah.
All right, let's do a segment called Just Me or Everyone.
Sometimes I ponder on something I have thought or done. Is it just me or everyone?
Dana, do you have one?
I do.
Wonderful.
Have you ever been lying awake late at night, like 2, 3 in the morning, and you hear a small airplane fly over?
I'm sure I have.
Yeah. Just like a prop plane.
Right.
Like, who is that?
Yeah, what is that?
What are they doing?
And why is it happening at
in
that
a
time?
prop plane?
Yeah.
Like a Cessna
Mm-hmm.
at 3 in the morning.
Right.
Like, is it a drug run? Is it like, I
police?
always like, yeah, who is it? And how beautiful their view must be.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember when I lived my first apartment in Los Angeles, I remember like I used to be a terrible insomniac. I'm not anymore. Knock wood. And I remember just lying in bed on those, those hot LA 90-degree August night and hear these planes going over late at night. And I was like, who is that? and I think about their life. And so they landed at like 4 a.m.
Right.
Like, and that leads me to the other thing of like, is there a whole other world of nocturnal people?
Oh, I
mean,
there
there is.
Yeah.
But I wonder what they do and how they think and what they think of us.
Right. The normies. Yeah. I remember in college going to the grocery store with we were on our way to a party. We were at the grocery store at like 10 p.m. or something.
Mm-hmm.
And there were so many people shopping. And we were like, who's going to the grocery store this late? Now, at that point, we were in college, so we were sheltered. I've since gone grocery shopping late many times.
Sure.
But I remember being like, what kind of life leads someone to the grocery store at 10 p.m.?
Yeah. Or like
to do shopping.
Yeah. Or like Vegas. You see people in Vegas doing their full week's grocery shopping at 3 a.m.
Yes.
Because they get off work at 2 and they don't want to go to bed.
Have you ever been in a Cessna or in a helicopter or any?
I've been in the helicopter. I've never been in like a 2-seater. I've been in small planes and I've been in the helicopter.
I've only ever been I've just done, regular commercial flying.
Right.
Although I've been in like a puddle jumper, but again, that was something from an airport where I bought a ticket and stuff. Was it neat being in a helicopter?
Yeah, it was really neat. It was really neat. They are more dangerous, I think, than bigger planes. But and my father-in-law is a pilot, and he's like, he wants me to take me up in a glider. I'm like, no. But it's fascinating. We were the time I was in a helicopter. I was in twice. Once in Kauai on like a tour of Kauai, and once going to Catalina, and we saw a pod of dolphins.
Cool.
That's what it's called.
I think so.
A pod. It's a pod of whales. I don't know what dolphins are called.
A murder of dolphins.
A murder of dolphins. A scrote of bros. And that was really cool, just seeing all these dolphins.
Yeah, that sounds really neat.
Yeah, but just flying over LA, just like seeing that expanse of light, and it's so gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
So gorgeous.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a hey go fuck yourself?
To a specific person, or like I don't have a hey go fuck yourself to any specific person outside of like that aren't public figures.
Right.
But I do have a general hey go fuck yourself to a segment of humanity that seems to be
in your family.
No, on the rise in our culture, like people that are intentionally cruel.
Yes.
And the political landscape now is like we've always dealt with people that are incompetent, and we've always dealt with people that have had vehemently opposing views of what the country should be. But we've never had people that are intentionally cruel until now. And I don't understand it. So the hey, go fuck yourself, I'm going to say, is to Texas Governor Greg Abbott, who this week is in the news because Jasmine Crockett referred to him as Governor Hot Wheels, which is inadvisable because you don't want to give them anything.
Right.
But lest I remind you that Governor Greg Abbott lined the buoys in the Rio Grande with razor wire. So the people that were coming over it,
that's awful,
in danger of drowning, would have a higher probability of drowning. Many of them children.
Ugh.
So Greg Abbott,
hey, go fuck yourself.
On Threads or whatever I was looking for, somebody said, Governor Hot Wheels, and somebody said, I prefer Sittler.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah, that was very
funny. Did you retweet that?
I might have. That's probably
because I thought you had said it.
No,
but no, you just liked it.
Yeah.
My son has this project for Hero Day, and they're supposed to choose someone they don't know much about and then make a whole project about them. And he chose Walt Disney. So he had to make a construction paper Walt Disney. His Walt Disney looks like Hitler. Let me show you the picture. Now, my husband said, no, he doesn't. Hitler has a different shaped mustache, which is fine. Maybe, but what do you think, Dana?
Yeah.
It's Hitler-esque, right?
Well, it's not it's the mustaches, but he looks angry. I don't know what is it. Why is this?
I don't know.
It's the eyes.
There's something, right?
It's
the
eyes. He's got Hitler's eyes
Yeah,
more
his
than
Hitler's
the mustache.
Eyebrows.
Yeah. Is it too late to fix this?
It went to school today.
Oh yeah, he needs to move the pupils apart and change the eyebrows.
Right.
He looks more. You know. You know who he really looks like? He looks like Darren's boss on Bewitched.
Oh, yes.
Tabitha?
Yes. That's so funny.
He looks like Wilfred Hyde. No, is that his name? White is his last name.
That's the actor?
Yeah.
What was the name of the character? Do you know?
Larry Tate.
Oh, duh. That is who he looks like. Okay.
I like how I had that. I can't remember my own phone number, but I
Right.
know. Larry Tate.
It's important to know that. All right, Dana, do you have a Podcast Pal product pick?
A Podcast Pal
Product pick. This is where you recommend a product or a thing you like.
Podcast Pals Peanut Picks.
Yes, I don't know the name of the product.
Tell me about it.
It's those razor kits.
Okay. For buoys?
No, they're just regular razors.
Mhm.
Whoever makes them. It's on. If you ever listen to Blank Check, which is a movie podcast, it's one of those like the Ben and Jerry's of razors.
Okay.
Because apparently Big Razor is a monolith that you can't take on.
Is it like Dollar Shave Club or
Something like
Flamingo
that, yeah,
or
something like
Harry's?
that. Harry's.
Harry's. There we go.
Harry's.
We got it.
Harry's razors.
Harry's razors.
And by the way, and I've done these commercials. I've never done Blue Apron.
You haven't?
I've never done Blue Apron.
Are you trying to say you're better than me because I have?
Is it good? No, not the commercial, the product.
Oh.
I've said I've used it.
Oh, okay.
I've done the commercials.
Yeah.
But I've never used it.
You've never
I'm like,
used
I don't know.
They didn't send it to you? But they did.
They
and
did,
you
and it
opened
just
it up
rotted.
And you just, yeah. I mean, look, here's the truth about those. It's a lot of cooking.
It's
a lot of cooking. But some people like that. And it's like
I'm not one of them.
It's like having your own sous chef.
Yeah.
So you can just Rachel Ray it up. You just got all your little thingies there. But there's
It
a
seems
lot
a
of
lot of waste.
it's
a lot of packing waste.
I mean, that's the argument against it.
My daughter, my oldest daughter, who is a paleontologist, like a lot of kids these days,
Wow.
went into the big money
Right.
paleontology.
Of dinosaur bones.
Yeah. She is so like she can tell you what happens to a paper bag when you throw it away and how it's dangerous for rivers. Like she's very environmentally aware.
She is.
And she does not. She had a great idea that you have these cloth boxes, those little cloth boxes.
Okay.
In the back of your car.
Mm-hmm.
You shop. Do you want a bag? No. You just put your stuff back in the cart. Take the cart to your car and then pack your stuff in the car and put the car away. You don't need to have the bags in the store.
Right. Just use the
Put it in
cart.
your cart.
Use the cart to convey it to your car.
My daughter came up with that.
Why don't we do that?
Doesn't make sense. There's no reason not to do it.
You're right.
No reason not to do it.
Let's implement that.
Mm-hmm.
Dana Gould, it has been a delight to catch up with you.
Always so good to see you.
Thank you for coming on the show. Everyone needs to go out and listen to or watch Perfectly Normal.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything? And they need to listen to your podcast.
The Dana Gould Hour, Never an Hour.
And are there other things they need to do that you would like to tell them to do? Like follow you here or go see you here?
If you're unfamiliar with Hanging with Dr. Z, I would avail yourself to that. Hanging with Dr. Z on Instagram, and he has a series on YouTube. It's my sort of, as I said earlier, I like to make things. This was an idea that I had during the pandemic with my friend Rob Cohen, and we thought, what if Dr. Zaius from Planet of the Apes had a talk show in the 70s? And we went out and did it.
Wonderful. All right. And you might have noticed that I wasn't segueing this way and that way to different ads because ads are thin right now for your friend Allison Rosen. So I am directly supported by you guys via Patreon, patreon.com/Allison Rosen,
Patreon.com/Allison Rosen,
and Substack, AllisonRosen.substack.com. So if you like what you're hearing, and check me out over there, and also leave a review and a comment and all that stuff. Engagement, people, it's the currency of today.
It is. I have no ads. I can't get anybody to sponsor me because my podcast is so ungainly.
Well, you're erratic, right?
I'm every month, but not on a predictable date.
Right.
I'm 2.5 hours long or under 3. I basically do 2 hours and 45 minutes a month.
Right.
And the people who dig it,
they really dig it.
And everybody else goes, what? But that's fine. That's what
The podcast is an institution.
I do, and this is something I also learned from the late, lovely way to wrap this up, from the late great Mr. Lynch. I create my art or my work, and that's the joy in life.
Yes.
And if people like it, great. If they don't, that's also fine. But the joy is in the creating and the releasing of it, and I like what I like. And if it's like if I don't want to make what I think somebody wants to hear, because it's backwards. And
Right.
to quote Leslie Kahn, it's perfectly wrong.
Well, I love that. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Listeners, thank you for listening. I love you. You matter. Goodbye.
Hey, do you know about the Allison Rosen show?